Now to Decision 2025, and some new polls place Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani in the lead for the New York City mayoral race with less than 2 months now until November's general election. But last night, his closest rival, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, disputed Mamdani's popularity.
The majority of New Yorkers do not agree with Mamdani. They are not socialists.
Why does he say you can win?
Well, there's two different things. Saying I can win means you're reading the polls. That's what that means. I believe the Republicans want Mamdani. I think he is political candy for them.
Joining me now is former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. It's nice to see you again, sir. Let me get right into what we just heard there from former New York Governor Cuomo, who says the majority of New Yorkers don't agree with Mamdani's policies. I'm curious your reaction to his claims, even though some new numbers show Mamdani is pushing ahead.
Alex, I'm always struck by how delusional Andrew Cuomo can be. He's way behind Mamdani in the polls, and what's clear is the big majority of New Yorkers don't agree with Andrew Cuomo. They know him really well, and they're rejecting him. Mamdani has continued to build his support from the primary till now. And he's closing in on that magical 50% plus one. I think that's what you're going to see in the final analysis. I was with Mamdani at a huge church, a mega church in Brooklyn, the Christian Cultural Center, primarily African-American congregation. He got an incredibly warm reception earlier today. And I think what you're seeing is that more and more New Yorkers are getting to know him, and they like him. And he's talking about affordability nonstop, which I've said is something all Democrats should learn from around this country, because that's what people care about.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about those who have endorsed him and those who have not, but I want to point out that you have endorsed him as we continue the conversation. In a surprising twist, though, President Trump said on Friday he believes Zohran Mamdani is going to win. Listen up.
I mean, you know, you look at the candidates now, maybe one-on-one somebody could beat him, and I'm not looking at the polls too carefully, but it would look like he's going to win.
So how telling is it that Trump is anticipating a Mamdani win already? What kind of message does this send?
One thing I'll give Donald Trump, he often has his finger on the pulse in one form or another. I think he realizes the trend line here. And I think it says to, the folks who have really gotten a bit apoplectic about Mamdani, especially some in the business community, I really think have misrepresented who he is and what he's about. I think the message that a lot of New Yorkers are receiving from the polling, even in a funny way from Trump, is this is going to be our next mayor. Now, why don't we actually listen to what he's saying and figure out what he's about and how we can all work together? Because ironically, the things he's talking about, actually, I would say this to folks in the business community, if you get a mayor who could address things like the lack of affordable housing or the need for free buses or more available childcare for families, more affordable childcare, that's actually great for the private sector, too. That means you have a more livable city that working people and creative people and folks who are entrepreneurial can live in and contribute to. So I do think Trump's comments are kind of an admission of where things are going, and hopefully will be yet another factor causing more and more people to actually listen to Mamdani. Amazingly, Michael Bloomberg met with him a few days ago and apparently had a cordial conversation. They're not exactly alike, but right. I think that's another sign that really substantial people in the mainstream in New York City are recognizing the fact that he's going to be our next mayor.
So there have been those reports that the Trump administration is attempting to help clear the playing field for Cuomo and set up a one-on-one race. And you said that you think he'd be perceived as a gift to Republicans. Why? I mean, do Trump's comments?
No, Cuomo said that. Cuomo said that.
Pardon me. Yes.
Yeah. Look, I think that's Cuomo's spin. I think, in fact, it's the opposite. My blunt assessment, Alex, is that if the Democratic Party in 2024 had talked with such intensity and clarity about affordability, with such passion and such connection to people about affordability, the way Zohran Mamdani has, this year, we would have won the 2024 election. I honestly believe it. And I think this notion that somehow the Republicans are looking forward to Mamdani because they'll be able to portray the entire Democratic Party as socialist. Well, here's the problem with that. First of all, if Mamdani comes in and actually creates the free buses or creates more affordable childcare or affordable housing, that's going to point out that Democrats are actually on the side of working people. But secondly, if Democrats can learn from the message of the mayor of the most prominent city in the country to get back to our basic roots, get back to kitchen table issues. If Democrats talk about health care, which, for example, which has always been a powerful winning message for us, I think we can do a lot better. So the irony is, I don't think smart Republicans are welcoming the notion of Mamdani winning. I think they actually look at it and say, wait a minute, here's someone who can appeal to young people. Here's someone who can get people energized and want them to get them to come out to vote and talk about affordability all day long. That's a great formula for the Democrats, in fact.
Let me tick through his list of proposals and see if there are any you think that are unrealistic or things that he would not be able to achieve. City-owned grocery stores in each borough, free city buses, more affordable housing units, barring ICE officers from city facilities, access to free childcare, some of which you have articulated here. Are any of those unrealistic or not smart policies to pursue?
No, they're smart policies. I'll tell you, in terms of increasing access to childcare, we did that in my administration, creating universal pre-K and working to create universal 3K as well for 3-year-olds. We barred ICE officers from city facilities, and that's what I think the Constitution says, that localities get to make those choices about their own government facilities. We froze the rent several times in times of great distress for New Yorkers, for working people. Free city buses, well, you have that, in multiple parts of the country now. Most notably, Boston has been going down that road, and it's been a positive experience. These things cost money, that's true, but they're the right priorities. Even the grocery stores, which I think some on the right have maligned as like some Stalinist exercise. What he's saying is he wants to create, as a pilot project, one public grocery store in each borough to see if we can, in fact, address food deserts, places where working people and poorer people cannot find decent quality food at a decent price, which is part of why we have an obesity crisis. Why shouldn't the public sector step in and try and create an alternative in places where the private sector is not serving? So they're quite realistic. They're grounded in the reality of everyday life in this city. And obviously, Democratic primary voters got it and gave him a resounding approval in the primary.
Here's going to be the first question, though. How do you pay for all that?
Well, some of them have to be phased in. Let's be clear about that. Not everything can be done overnight, and a lot of it will require help from the legislature in Albany. Now, thankfully, he's a member of that legislature. He knows how Albany works. He has a governor in Kathy Hochul. I think we'll try and work with them. He has 2 Democratic houses, Senate and Assembly. When I was mayor, I didn't have that. I had an uncooperative governor, Andrew Cuomo, who actually tried to stop pre-K for all. I had a Republican state Senate. We managed to overcome all that. So I think Mamdani can get some of this done in the short term. Other pieces might take sort of a phase in, but these are perfectly logical ways to address a profound affordability crisis.
I do want to get to one New York Times headline, which reads, Mamdani, if elected mayor, pledges to order NYPD to arrest Netanyahu. But experts are warning, look, this is not a realistic outlook. What is your take on that position?
I think Mamdani understands that more and more New Yorkers are deeply pained by what's happening in Gaza and think that Netanyahu has committed really a horrible act here by depriving so many people of food and by using a war strategy that has killed so many civilians. And so this underlying view that the Netanyahu government has done something inhumane, I think, is widely held in New York City. Now, I'm a supporter of the state of Israel. I believe in the state of Israel, but I'm appalled at just how every month it seems to even get more extreme what Netanyahu is doing and how much human pain and misery is being caused by innocent children in particular, two innocent children in particular. So I think what Mamdani is saying reflects what more and more New Yorkers are feeling. The logistics, the legalities, I honestly can't speak to because I certainly know of a precedent for it. So I think it's a theoretical point. But in terms of what's motivating the feeling and the frustration, and I as someone who supports the state of Israel, I just hope more and more voices speak up to say that government, the Netanyahu government, cannot continue on this path. It is harming not only all the people on both sides who have lost their lives or are in the middle of a famine, but it's just a horrible statement from a government that's supposed to represent a country with values that I think historically were admired around the world. But right now, more and more people are pained by what they see.
Former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, thank you for the thoughtful conversation. I'll see you again.
Thank you, James.